Hey, folks. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. As you may know, we recently launched a new podcast. It's called The Next Big Idea Daily, and it's hosted by my dear friend, he of the mellifluous baritone, Michael Kovnat. Every day, Michael teams up with a leading nonfiction writer to bring you a 10-minute masterclass in better, smarter living. Here's the first of this week's episodes featuring artist, entrepreneur, and startist Becky Blades, author of the recent book, Start More Than You Can Finish, a creative permission slip to unleash your best ideas. We've been getting great early feedback on the Next Big Idea Daily. People seem to love it, which I understand because I love it. To hear the rest of this week's episodes, you'll need to follow the Next Big Idea Daily wherever you get your podcasts.
LinkedIn presents.
If we want to get to our best ideas, we don't need to listen to the voices that tell us not to start more than we can finish. Those voices don't make us finish more. They just make us start less.
It's Monday, the start of a new day, the start of a new work week, the start of a new Next Big Idea Daily Masterclass, this time with artist, writer, and entrepreneur Becky Blades, author of an inspiring new book called Start More Than You Can Finish, a creative permission slip to unleash your best ideas. I'm your host, Michael Kovnat. I'm a documentary filmmaker and writer, and I'm a co-founder of the Next Big Idea Club. And each week, I pick one of the many nonfiction writers who are part of the club and highlight their work here on the podcast and on LinkedIn to help motivate you to live your best, most productive life. This week, we're talking about creativity, personal creativity, business creativity. It's a powerful force that can change our lives, change the world, really, if we can figure out how to ignite and harness it. You might think, I'm not really a creative person. That's for those starving artists, those mad geniuses. If that's the case, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. You are creative. You can put amazing, original work out in the world. You just need to get out of your own way and start. Start something, anything. Start a lot of things, a screenplay, a business plan, a social event. Starting is key. Finishing, not so much. In fact, your fear of the finish, whether you'll finish, whether it will turn out how you hope, that's probably what's keeping you from getting started. That's the first lesson Becky is going to share with us today. Not finished is not failure. It's the lesson you have to internalize to become a great startist, as Becky calls anyone who's good at launching projects.
The way we view the finish can keep us from getting to it. If we think any finish other than what we planned is failure, starting seems scary. And what is finishing anyway? Who gets to decide? By what standards? Even with the most precise planning, what we end up with is rarely exactly how I envisioned it. As one entrepreneur told me, the finish changes the minute we take first action. This matters because if we believe not finishing as we envisioned is failure, we might not start. If we believe that pausing or stopping is failure, we won't restart. If we believe we don't have enough to take our idea all the way to a grand finish, we might not start. And we will miss all the unknown discoveries and unknown finishes that might be waiting along the way. What I learned from hundreds of startists, from teachers to engineers, is that not finishing as planned leaves us with surprising rewards, often better than we envisioned. Take, for example, my writer friend, who began a novel only to discover that her plot worked best as a sizzling short story. Or the inventors in the 1950s who failed to make textured wallpaper, but wound up making bubble wrap. Or the engineer in the 1940s who set out to make a shipping device and made that shipping device, but also ended up making the Slinky. Or all the people who started support groups that became social movements. We need to celebrate all our starts and whenever the finishes turn out to be. We need to loosen our demands on the finish. Knowing when to stop or pause or pivot or hand off an idea is a startistic superpower. When we learn that surprise pivots are every bit the masterpieces that engineered endings are, more ideas will get started. Despite the title, I did not write this book to tell you not to finish. Finishing is always the end game. But if we want to get to our best ideas, we don't need to listen to the voices that tell us not to start more than we can finish. Those voices don't make us finish more. They just make us start less.
Welcome, Becky Blades, to the Next Big Idea Daily. Are you ready to start this conversation?
I am ready. I'm always ready to start.
You're always ready to start. Do you think it's going to be something that you're going to start and not finish? Because I'm kind of hoping you're going to stick around till the end.
It's going to be some kind of finish. I mean, that's kind of the point, Michael. There's always a finish. It may not be what you planned. It might be better.
I really enjoyed reading your book. And, one of the stories you start off with is you tell the story of your own kind of midlife assessment of all your unfinished starts. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what was that moment like for you?
I had a big marketing firm that was in my mid-40s, something I was done with, and I sold it to be able to do a lot of the things that I miss doing, artwork, events, just playful exploration. And after a year or so of doing that, nothing big had materialized. So I went into my art studio, I combed through my computer files just to see, are there things that I should have finished? And I started looking at it like a research study. I started counting the unfinished projects. I started tabulating what I got from them, whether I was glad I started them, whether they had a finish different than what was planned for them.
So, Becky, for me, the main takeaway I got from this is that sometimes by being too concerned about finishing, we keep ourselves from starting. But if, as you say, we loosen the demands on the finish, we're more likely to start. And one way to loosen that demand is to remind ourselves that in real life, things rarely finish as planned. But I guess, why do we even have to remind ourselves of this? Why do we grow up so focused on the need to finish properly?
I think it's because our parents didn't want us to get out the Legos, right before dinner time. I think it's because our teachers didn't want us to do more than we could clean up in 15 minutes. Those things that we've heard about finishing, don't start more than you can finish. If it's worth starting, it's worth finishing. Don't bite off more than you can chew. The effect those things had were stopping us. They did not make us finish. Those things were said to stop us from starting.
I was thinking another thing that can keep people, myself included, from committing to a creative project can be that fear of, what if it's not good? That can just kill the idea in its cradle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I remind myself that if I just stop thinking about that final product, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be what I think it's going to be anyway. So don't even think about it. Do the thing. And then I'm freer to let it go where it's going to go. And, maybe people will love it. Maybe they'll hate it. But that's not really my responsibility at this point.
Exactly. Right. That's spoken like a true artist. Also, enjoy the process. You'll enjoy the process more. And the thing is, if you start a lot of them, the stakes are lower. So I think that the thing that I learned in researching startists, the people who were self-actualized and love being startists and will admit to being startists, will say they make a lot of false starts and they don't care. The stakes of their starts are very low because they start a lot. And that's what's true for me.
Well, there you have it, everyone. We got our conversation with Becky Blades off to a good start. But it's not over yet. I'm not going to worry about the finish, but I am going to be back with Becky tomorrow to talk about her next big idea. Starting is a skill and a muscle. That's where she'll get into the meat and potatoes about how to make a strong start on your project, how to become a great startist. If you're an eager beaver and can't wait to hear all of Becky's ideas, go ahead and download the Next Big Idea app, where you can find a complete summary of Start More Than You Can Finish, along with hundreds of other books that can help you live better and learn faster. And be sure to join our community. Just search for The Next Big Idea on LinkedIn. And while you're there, sign up for our new newsletter, where I'll be taking listeners behind the scenes of this show. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.